Hey guys, I'm Joey.
I'm Jeff.
And we're here to talk about a brand new project we're really excited about. It's the next generation of the Daiwa DXB bass rods. That's a Tackle Warehouse exclusive, isn't that right?
Yes, it is. Has a project we've been working on for about 10 years.
Yeah, well, so this is the third generation,
Third
right?
generation, yeah.
The first generation goes back to 2014,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And this is something that you and I have been working on with Daiwa forever, right?
yeah.
So if you know the DX series, you probably know the Daiwa DX swim bait rods, right?
Yes.
And what's great about these, beautiful form, great function,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But
They're affordable.
super affordable, right? So you can get yourself a great swim bait rod. This was actually something that we collaborated with Daiwa on back in the day when they first launched it. Collaborated meaning they asked for our input.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we're really stoked to see that success. And we said, hey, how about not swim bait rods, a whole line of DX exclusive Tackle Warehouse rods, and they said, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we got a whole bunch of samples, we had a bunch of feedback back and forth, and we came out with the original DXB line. And this was a whole lineup of rods,
Yeah.
right?
Flipping sticks.
Yeah.
Jig rods, cranking rods. It was pretty awesome.
Spinning rods, we had
Everything you need.
everything, right?
Yeah.
And it took a lot of work, and it was something we were really proud of. But that was 10 years ago, right? So we moved on. We were really inspired by a couple of rods with that original series and through this whole series of rods, right? One of those is the old Light and Tough.
Light and Tough, yes. That's a rod that Ish Monroe made real famous back in, gosh, the late 90s, early 2000s probably.
Yeah, and this one is just hammered. You can tell it's been through the ringer. It's delaminating. It's had guides repaired. The cork's fallen apart. This one has caught some fish.
Yeah.
So we modeled our frog rod off of that originally, and then also the leopard, right?
Yeah, we had the evergreen leopard rod that we brought in for this reaction bait rod. That was basically, we're trying to design an awesome chatterbait rod for everybody at an affordable price and use the leopard for the model, to, the base model, to get this action. It's been utilized for many different things,
Yeah.
treble hook baits, stuff like that. We've
Sure.
all used it for, so it's a cool rod.
So these two are the second generation
Yeah.
of the DXB rods. And this is really where we pick up on the third generation, right? So carrying through the cosmetics of the reaction bait rod and the actions of the frog rod, and adding some more, right?
Yes.
So
for
let's
sure,
talk
yeah.
about the brand new third generation. These are rods right out of the bins. This is the brand new third generation of the Daiwa DXB Bass Tackle Warehouse exclusive
Yes.
rods. So we're really proud of these.
Yeah.
The whole series in general, just a couple of key points, right? First off, great price.
Yes.
$129.99 every day. Awesome. Talk about the versatility of the whole series.
I mean, you've got a bottom contact rod, you've got a frog rod, you've got two reaction bait rods,
Yep.
and they will cover pretty much, I mean, like we said, 50, 60% of what we like to do.
Sure.
I mean, maybe even more for some guys.
Even though these are technique specific,
Yes.
we really feel like there's a wide range of baits and techniques you can do with these. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. I just want to talk a little bit about the cosmetics of the series as a whole. Starting from the butt, we have a really cool composite little butt cap there, embossed
With the Daiwa D.
with the Daiwa DVAC logo, full cork handle there. That's my preference.
Yes, I really like that as well.
Yeah, really cool Fuji handle. I mean, looks great, feels great,
Is great.
is great.
Shiny.
It's shiny. It's got the blank through there, so you can
sure.
keep a hand on the blank. And then a cool little hood there to keep your fingers off the thread.
Yes.
Right.
Hook
Hook keeper.
Yes. We changed the hook keeper placement, put it on the top, made it smaller.
And I feel like this is the best style that
For sure.
causes the least amount of issues, that is the most versatile, for the most.
Small and sturdy.
Exactly.
For sure. So.
And then let's talk about the guides a little bit, right? Because this is guide size and type was something we were really serious about. I actually love micro guide rods. I just can't deal with the durability factor. I'm tough on my stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and I knock micro guides out all
Yes,
the
yes.
time. I bend them out. So I really wanted the lowest profile guide that we could get without going to that micro guide size. A longer foot
Yes, very
for
important.
the thread to grab, so it's not going to come out. A little more sturdiness, so it's not going to bend as easily. And just big enough. So many guys are throwing
Braid to fluorocarbon, yes.
Right.
Yes, so you can get your knot through there without it ticking about and catching and shortening your cast, throwing your reel into a mess.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
yeah. So a lot of thought was gone went into even the guide size there.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
So let's talk about some of these rods specifically, not just what they're designed for, but also the other fun stuff that you can do with it. Let's start off with the frog rod because everybody loves frogs.
Yes.
So 7'4", heavy action, a fast action. Talk about why we did what we did with the power and action here.
We just wanted to kind of lighten the tip up a little bit so you could, for accurate casting, a lot of times you pick up frog rods and they are stiff and you want to skip, or you need to make a short roll cast, or or you want to throw it really far and the rod's too stiff. So you lighten the tip up a little bit, it gives you a little more. The rod's still got a ton of power. You're gonna fish with braid. You don't have to worry about not getting a hook in them. But at the same time, this rod will double for a lot of other things you're going to want to do. So,
Sure. Some of those things, I mean, personally, and maybe they're different from what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because you and I disagree on. I mean, we agreed on these 4 rods,
Yeah.
but there's sometimes where I'm like, oh, that's a great chatterbait rod, and you're like,
No,
it's not. So 7'4", going to be a great, I would say, your tournament size swim bait rod.
Yeah.
Right. So a 5 to 6 inch swim bait, going to be a great line through rod or a top hook rod.
yes, for sure.
We're talking really on the fluorocarbon side, a 15 to 17 pound rod. Right?
For sure, yeah.
And then if you're throwing braid, 40 to 65
For sure. Yeah.
is what I would throw
Yeah.
on it. So that would be the wheelhouse for me. Buzz baits.
Buzz baits, double buzz, single buzz,
Yep.
wake bait.
Yep.
There's lots of stuff you could do with
Sure.
it. You could Carolina rig with it if you're into Carolina rigging. You could
Great little pitching rod.
pitch rod for sure. This is a great rod to have.
This rod is going to let you be very adaptable.
For sure.
In that 15 to 17 pound fluorocarbon or 50 pound braid.
Yeah,
range,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the frog rod. Let's talk about this bottom contact rod. This is a new addition to the
one,
series,
yeah.
right? So it's a medium heavy,
Yes.
right? So it's on the heavy side of the medium heavy spectrum, and it's fast action. And we really designed this rod with, I would say, a football jig, maybe a finesse football jig, 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon in
Yes.
mind, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So when we say bottom contact, Texas rigs, jigs, that kind of thing, but this rod is going to do a lot of other stuff.
A lot of things,
right?
yes. So,
What
yeah.
else would you use this rod for?
That's a great swim jig rod. You could throw a spinnerbait on that rod. You could throw a horny toad with like 40 or 50 pound braid on this rod.
Excellent
You could
horny toad rod.
You throw like a wobble head on this rod.
Sure.
You could throw a spoon on this rod. There's lots of things you can do with this rod for sure. I mean, it's just dependent on what you want to do with the rod, how you fish, whatever. You'll pick it up and you'll probably think of something that you would do that we didn't mention. So.
Yep. So I mean, for me, this is going to cover a lot of my skirted bait, my single hook skirted bait stuff, right? So as you mentioned,
Swim jig,
spinnerbait, excellent swim jig rod.
Yeah.
Spinnerbait, maybe your single buzz, any of that single hook stuff. This is not really a rod that I'm going to gravitate to for treble hook reaction baits.
No.
Other than a spook. I would throw a spook
you
on
could throw a
this rod.
spook on that rod.
So, just a really versatile, I would say 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon, 30 to 50 pound braid.
For sure,
Rod.
yeah.
Can do a ton with this rod.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the reaction rods, right?
Yes.
This is something that you and I really care a lot about.
Yes.
Having the right rod for treble hook baits
For sure.
is really important.
Very.
So this is the old, more or less the same old action and power that we had in the last generation of the reaction rod, right?
Yes.
And that was ostensibly designed off the
The
evergreen leopard
yes, yeah.
as a chatterbait rod. I didn't like it for a chatterbait.
I didn't like it for a chatterbait.
That's not to say that we didn't like the rod. I love the rod, but I used it for other stuff. What did you use it for?
That rod I was throwing a lot of treble hook baits on. I mean, anywhere from like a speed trap to an LV 150, some top water stuff like a Rio Rico sometimes, smaller super spook, stuff like that. You know, if you're throwing braid, that's
Spook Junior.
Spook
Yeah.
Junior. I kind of went that route with that rod.
For me, it was 1.5 square mils. I mean, perfect wheelhouse for that. Talking 10 to 12 pound, you know, you could go up to, I would say 14 or 15
Yeah, for sure.
pound fluorocarbon if you really wanted to. Great 30 to 40 pound braid rod if you're fishing around grass and need that low stretch line. Super forgiving. I mean, this rod bends all the way to the handle. So when you're talking big fish, sometimes on a short string, right? You get that big bite right by the boat. That give is gonna
Make a difference.
prevent you from breaking that fish off on the hook set, especially if you're in that 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon arena. So that being said, we did want to make what we felt like was the perfect chatterbait rod for this series, right?
Yeah.
So we went up 2 inches in length. So this is a 7.5 and up a power.
Yes.
But still that same great glass action that you're getting in the 7.3 model. Tell us about this rod and what you're gonna do with it.
This rod right here, obviously Joey already touched on it, chatterbait for sure. You know, and a lot of guys like braid on chatterbaits. I really don't. I mean, I'm generally that, you know, like 15 to 20 pound fluoro guy. Awesome for a chatterbait in that range. I do like this rod for a bigger square bill.
Yeah.
For a trap, like a heavier trap, you know, like out here, LV 500 is real popular. I would also use this rod, we'll use this rod with braid with, you know, like a whopper plopper or a bigger walking bait, like a super spook or, you know, a vixen or a teckle or, you know, whatever you're looking at in a bigger treble hook bait. Yeah, I mean, if you were in a bind on someone's boat and you only had this one rod and he's like, hey, you thought you were doing one thing? Hey, I'm actually found some deep crankfish. You go out and throw a 6XD, DT14, DT16. It's got the bases covered. With this rod, you could do a lot of stuff with your bigger treble hook baits, and obviously the chatterbait. So.
Sure. For me, this is going to be primarily a chatterbait rod. Like you said, a great, call it 5XD rod or deep little N rod.
Yeah.
Going to be a great BDS3
yeah,
rod.
BDS3
right?
for sure.
So 12 to maybe 17 pound.
Yeah.
15 pound, I feel like is just in the wheelhouse.
That's probably right where that is right where you'd want to be as far as fluoro on that rod for sure.
And really, you know, even though it's a power heavier, it's still got that really forgiving action. And I think that's the whole theory, right, on the chatterbait is really letting that fish engulf it, but having the power to drive that big hook.
And turn it. You gotta turn them.
Sure, you're often fishing those baits around structure, heavy grass, etc. So having the power to move a big fish, really excited about this new addition to the rod and the whole line. So these are all available now at tacklewarehouse.com. $129, awesome price point,
insane,
super versatile.
Yes.
And you know, just for fun, you and I had talked a little bit about like, okay, if we really feel like these 4 models cover 50, 60, 70% of our fishing across the year, what other couple models would get us almost all the way there? For you, what is it?
I mean, obviously a flipping stick. You have to have a flipping stick. 7.6, 7.9, dependent on what you like, somewhere in that wheelhouse. And I think, I mean, as far as the casting rods go, that's going to cover you for sure. And then obviously we're going to need to look at the spinny poles. So we're going to have to bring in some models there. What lengths would you like to see in actions in the spinning rod?
You say spinny pole like you're not a spinning rod
I
master.
love spinning rods.
Yeah,
Shut
definitely.
up, Nick.
A 7.6 heavy action flip and stick is what I'd want. A moderate action, you know, we're talking a 17 to 22 pound fluorocarbon rod. That's something I use a lot, and we would need in this lineup. And then, for me, it would be probably a 7.4 medium action or medium light action spinning rod is going to get me to 90% of my fishing throughout the year.
Yeah, 100%.
So you and I
Yeah.
can go work on that. What else would you guys want to see in this great new lineup of DX casting rods, exclusive
To Tackle Warehouse.
to Tackle Warehouse? Great partnership with Daiwa.
Yeah, thanks,
Really
Daiwa.
appreciate it. Check them out right now, $129.